Hi, we're here with another client testimonial, and the reason why I do these is to give you a reminder that you can feel amazing again. I want to actually help as many humans as possible feel good in their body. To do so, we need to get our message out far and wide. How you can help with that is click the subscribe button below. That lets you know when new videos come out, but it also helps spread our message. So I appreciate you for doing that. You're about to meet Rachel. She came to me with Graves' disease, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, and depression. You now get to see what happened to her through her journey with me. Hi there, we're here with Rachel, and Rachel is local to me, so I got to meet her in person and give her a hug in person, but we've been through quite a journey together. Do you know how long ago you started with me?
It's been 13 months.
Okay, 13 months, 13 months. So you want to tell us a little bit about your health leading up to me, starting with a bit before the Graves.
So the Graves was 30 years ago. That was back in college. And at that point, I had become vegetarian in college. And I got Graves' disease. And nobody suggested anything about diet. They just said, we have to remove your thyroid. So they gave me radioactive iodine and killed my thyroid and put me on hormone replacement therapy for the rest of my life, which I still have to take to this day because my thyroid doesn't work anymore. And it was a struggle to find the right dosage. I gained a bunch of weight when they took my thyroid out because they start you on a super low dosage to try to figure out what you're supposed to be on. And it was just a very stressful time. I remained vegetarian for probably 5 or 6 years after that. And that's when the concept of humanely raised meat started to become popular. So I was vegetarian for not really health reasons, just because I love animals. And so I started eating meat again, and I was pretty good for another 20 years. But then I wanted to become vegan because there have been so many advances in tasty vegan food. When I tried to be vegan in college, the food was so bad, so bad. But it's come a long way. And so prior to meeting you, I had been vegan for about 6 years. And healthy vegan too. I didn't eat a lot of junk food. I ate tofu and spinach and quinoa and lots of fruits and vegetables. But I started to get really painful joints. It started with one finger, and then it moved to a different finger on the other hand, and then it moved to my ankles, and then it moved to my elbows. And so it was clear that it was systemic. But I went to so many doctors and I didn't test positive for any specific autoimmune disorder. At the same time, my mouth had become incredibly dry and my eyes had become incredibly dry. And so what basically my doctor that I ended up with determined was sort of, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And so he treated me for Sjogren's, which is the dry mouth and eyes, and also rheumatoid arthritis, because all the symptoms I had were very similar to rheumatoid. So we started with methotrexate, and then that really didn't have much effect. And so he put me on all of the big bad anti-inflammatories that you see advertised on TV. Humira, Rinvoq, all of those. And I say all of them because he kept having to switch me from one to another because the side effects were so bad. And I got side effects like depression, which I've never been a depressed person, and it was devastating. I have a whole new empathy for people with depression now. And I was gaining weight, and mostly I just was unable to live my life in any meaningful way. I stayed in bed a lot and was constantly fatigued and in incredible pain. And so when he wanted to move me to the fourth anti-inflammatory drug, I thought, I'm not doing this. And I didn't even tell him, but I was like, I got to find another way to do it. So I looked up nutritionists who specialize in disease, specifically autoimmune disease. And your name came up, and it was here in Cedar Park. So I was like, okay, I'll check her out. I'll see what she has to say. And that's how it started.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I remember your first call, you were sitting in a corner room in a chair in your house, and your heart was like so sad, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
like telling me all of this stuff. And when I hear somebody's progression of Graves' disease, I know. And so if anybody's listening to this and you have a thyroid condition, especially Graves, oxalates and things in your diet are attacking your immune system is attacking your thyroid from the foods that you're eating. And it is like the vegetables and nuts and almonds and things that you think are healthy, but nobody
Yeah.
told you to stop, you know?
Yeah.
And then
No.
you went vegan, which means we eat more of these plant toxins, which creates more damage. And if you have an autoimmune thyroid and you don't change your diet and lower your immune response, another autoimmune disease is likely to come, multiple, because nobody's
Yeah.
stopping the fire. And so
Yes.
always interesting when I meet somebody who's vegetarian or vegan, because when we got off the call, I thought, is she going to do it with me? Because it's a lot to wrap your head around thinking, how am I going to eat animal again? You know?
Yep.
And I was like, if she's just brave, I know we can get
I
and
don't
then
know if it was brave or desperate. I was desperate. I was really desperate.
you were like, I don't have any other options. So like
Yeah.
you were like, I don't really want to do this, but like there's no other option. So like,
I would have tried a voodoo doll at that point. Like I would have tried anything. I really would have.
what were some
Yeah.
of your fears starting?
That it wouldn't work and that I was just going to have to live my life in this half alive state, that I was just always going to be in pain, and that, all the things that I used to love to do, like hiking and playing billiards, all of those things were going to be inaccessible for the rest of my life now.
Yeah.
I was terrified of that.
Yeah. You're also an artist. And on my heart, I wanted to get you back in your art studio. That's
Uh,
what my goal was. I was like, I
yeah.
want to see her do art again.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the process, going through and then kind of through
Yeah.
recovery, what's happening now.
It was, at first, like I started eating chicken soup, and I couldn't make any other kind of soup because I couldn't deal with eating other kinds of animals. Like chicken was hard enough for me. So I literally ate chicken soup for, I think, 90 days. I can't remember. I kept doing it because you kept saying, if you could just do it a little bit longer, it'll be really beneficial. So I kept doing it. And over that 90-day period, I was able to wrap my head around, okay, I have to do this, because if I don't do this, I'm going to be unwell forever. And like 4 days into it, 4 days into having soup, I had been a competitive figure skater as a kid. And so I hadn't been able to do lunges or squats or anything for probably 20 years because of intense knee pain. And like, just, I didn't even think about it, but 4 days after starting the diet, I got up off the floor without using my hands. I just pulled myself up with my legs and no knee pain. And I stood there for a second. And I was like, what just happened? Because 20 years, and I love to work out. I love to lift. I loved all of that. And I couldn't do squats or lunges. It was like, no, 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 no. And so that was the first sign. And that, I was like, okay, there's something to this, because my knees have been shot. And so it's like 13 months later, my knees are fantastic. I can do whatever I want. So that was motivation to keep trying it. And so I started with that. And then I eventually, after 90 days with the soup, I moved into other proteins, and probably, I can't remember the exact dates, but probably 6 or 7 months into it, I stopped taking any autoimmune medications. I had stopped the big bad ones when I decided to find a nutritionist, but I was still taking methotrexate just to get some sense of security and relief. And so I stopped taking the methotrexate about 7 months in, because I just wasn't having pain. And I wasn't having I just could tell, I was like, I don't need this. I don't need to take this anymore. And so it's been probably 4, 5, 6 months since I've had any real pain. I don't, my dryness in my mouth is so much better. My eyes are so much better. It's still that my eyes are still dry. It's going to be a while, I can tell. That's a tough one, that Sjogren's, but the RA seems to have pretty much gone away. And so I'm hiking again, I'm playing pool again, I'm painting every day. Like I have my life back. And it's only, it was not an easy journey. It was not. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was tough. But the choice to stick to this diet or be ill again is a no-brainer. Like that for me is not tough at all. It's a cake. The detox from all the oxalates was tough. That was the hard part, but it's mostly over now. So, I just get to have a life again, which is phenomenal from food. Like it's crazy. Just food, like not medicine, not just food. But it turns out your body is wiser than you think, and it knows how to heal you if you just provide it the right environment.
Yeah, wonderful. So, and thank you for sharing that it's not easy, because you went through a pretty serious oxalate dump that affects energy, sometimes pain flares, sometimes stools change. It is a whole host of a lot. And then on the other side, I was like, just hang with me, hang with me. You'll get energy. So tell us, what is your energy like, mood? Oh, and then I remembered when you were talking, one of your major concerns was, I've already put on weight. I cannot gain weight. When I ate
Yeah.
animals before, I gained weight. I said,
Yeah.
we're not going to gain weight. And you lost all the weight. And then I remember you saying, I can't keep losing weight. What
Yeah.
are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. I got down to, I'm 5'9" and I'm very muscular. And I got down, when I started this, I think I was 165. And I got down to like 137. And it was just like, was too skinny for somebody with my kind of muscle build. It just was too skinny. I looked really unwell. And so I'm now at about 145, which I've been able to stay at for a long time. But you don't gain weight, because the reason I was gaining weight before was I was eating carbs with the fats and the proteins. And it was just a lethal combination for me. It just packed on weight. And so when you're not eating the carbs and you're just eating the clean proteins and you're not hungry most of the time, like I've had a couple of periods where I've eaten like way more food than I'd been eating prior during this whole process. I think they were emotional swings, which is part of the detox. You get some serious emotional stuff comes up. But even then, I never even remotely came close to gaining the weight back. The decision to go back up a little bit in weight was conscious, and I just did it by eating more fat, and my weight came up and has stabilized. So it's a very just easy way to maintain your weight and not have to struggle. There's no struggle in it. It's so easy.
It's
And
pretty.
because the craving for sugar and carbs goes away really quickly, like a week. I don't even know if it was that long for me. It just goes away. And then you look at it and you're like, that is poison. And there's no way I'm eating that. Like, there's no oh, I wish no. It's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, amazing. And thanks for sharing that about the cravings, because people aren't typically hungry and they're eating all the time. And I say, once we get you started, you're going to be satiated like a human should be. And
Yes.
yeah, thank you for sharing that. The last thing that I remember is memory problems. When you first came, you had talked about like brain fog and memory problems. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I still don't I had a head injury in my 20s, so that's largely related to that. But I still, gosh, it's so much better. But it's better. about a month ago, I started working with a neuroplasticity brain specialist to go back and try to refire the synapses in my brain that got injured in my injury and never, they just like sat there because nobody did that 30 years ago. But even before I started working with her, yeah, it was much better, so much better. And then I had a slip up. I went on vacation about 2 months ago, and it was right around the time when you said you can have a couple ounces of alcohol now, you know, if you want to, while you're on your vacation, you can have a drink with a couple ounces. So I was like, woohoo, you know, because I hadn't had a drink in a year. And so we went on vacation and I had vodka tonics with lime. I had like 5 of them over a 10-day period. And I got super moody. I couldn't find words. I was like, because I didn't know tonic had sugar in it. I thought it was soda, which is completely different. And so dramatic, like the difference in how I felt. And it took me a while to figure out, oh, tonic has got sugar in it. It took me a while, but yeah, I mean, the way my memory reversed during that period was shocking. Yeah. And just from sugar. Yeah. And by the way, tonic has a lot of sugar in it, just so you know.
Just so everyone knows, there's a lot
Yeah.
of sugar. Yeah,
Mhm.
but isn't that amazing what inflammation and sugar can do? So,
Mhm. Oh, and the dizziness, like from my brain injury, I had
yeah.
25 years of vertigo, which the only thing that ever prevented it was I went to a Chinese herbalist and she gave me these herbs. If I took them every day, eventually after about 5 weeks, if I took them every day, they would keep the vertigo away. And turned out they had a little bit, I like a tiny bit of sugar in them. And you were like, well, you can't take it. And I was like, no, you don't get it. I have to take it. And you're like, just try not taking it. And gosh, I think that's been about 6 months. And I have very little vertigo. Every now and again, when I'm upset or stressed, the vertigo comes back. But just day to day, I have had zero problem with vertigo. And this is something that I went to see every kind of brain specialist you can imagine, every kind of ENT doctor, everything, and nobody could help me with it. Just maintenance on those herbs. And I haven't taken them for 6 months and it's just gone. That in and of itself is like, wow, like who knew?
Who knew? I mean,
Yeah.
literally your whole body. So between diet and we do use supplements, right? Nutrients, just
Mhm.
basic nutrients to bring the body back into balance, fermented foods, things to heal the gut lining. The body does amazing things. I
It does.
appreciate
And in regard to supplements, one of the things that I think people might get suspicious about, or at least I did, was like, you're not selling me supplements. It's not your brand that you're trying to sell me that you get money from. That's not how it is. You're like, these are the supplements you can take. These are the ones that are good. Go buy those on your own. So just so people understand, it's not a marketing thing at all.
Mm-mm. No, our body needs certain nutrients to actually bring itself back together. And our soil's also very depleted now. So we're actually not getting a lot of the nutrients we need. And when somebody's chronically sick, they're depleted. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you so much. The last question I want you to answer is, if you were able to go into a time machine and talk to yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, what would you tell her?
I mean, I wish I could say, if you just eat this way, you'll be great. But that's not how it was for me. But a year before I met you, I went to see a functional medicine doctor, and she suggested that I cut out gluten. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm vegan. I'm already cutting out so much food. I'm not cutting out gluten. So just for me, it really just had to get bad enough that I was like, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes. So I wish I could tell everybody that food is really like literally medicine, but I don't know how many people would be like me and just not really understand that until they had to suffer enough.
Yeah, that's an amazing response. Many people, sometimes people see me and I say, okay, here are the things that we're going to have to do. And I'm like, we're catching you at an amazing place. They're like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then they contact me 5 years later, you know? And then
Yeah.
they're in enough pain and like found
Yeah.
out there's not any other answers, and they're like, okay, wait
I'm
for
ready.
it. I'm ready. I'm
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
And so if any of you hear this, if you're ready now, you can stop further stuff. I don't know that for sure, but there's a high likelihood, you know?
Very high likelihood. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being brave. And if anybody is hurting out there from stuff, it doesn't mean that food and supplements are a magic miracle thing, but they can often give you your life back, which
Mhm.
is a miracle. I got
Yeah.
my life back. You got your life back.
Mhm.
It's a miracle.
100% worth it. Yeah.
100%. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Courtney.